Let us look at Joseph Edison's essay, Meditations in Westminster Abbey, a little closely. Joseph Edison was born in 1672, the same year as Richard Steele, and was educated at Charterhouse and Oxford. He entered public service and occupied a succession of government offices. His best known writings are his contributions to Steele's periodicals. Edison's essays were the first in the field to appeal to a very wide section of the educated public, as he aimed to bring philosophy out of libraries, schools, and colleges to dwell in clubs and assemblies, at tea tables and in coffee houses, to produce such writings as tend to the wearing out of ignorance, passion, and prejudice. Edison is at his best when analyzing the manners and morals of his contemporaries. His ironies are sharp, always hitting the bullseye. His social exposure, however, is never bitter, thanks to his unfailing sense of humor and fun. The moral aim is to raise the standard of manners and modes, both in life and in literature, and this is what inspires his essays. He is inimitable in his prose style, which is always distinguished by ease, clearness, buoyancy, and grace. And it is because of these reasons that he has been a model to many other great prose writers of the later times. In his essay, Meditations in Westminster Abbey, Edison narrates his thoughts, his reflections, as he walks by himself in a rather reflective or thoughtful mood in Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey is a large, mainly Gothic abbey church in the city of Westminster, London, England, just to the west of the Palace of Westminster. It was built in the 11th century and is at the banks of the River Thames. It is one of the United Kingdom's most notable religious buildings and the traditional place of coronation and a burial site for English and later British monarchs. And as he walks about the Westminster Abbey, he observes the different graves and tombstones and reflects on their inscriptions. He finds that most of the inscriptions recorded only the year of birth and death of a person. The whole history of his life being comprehended in those two circumstances that are common to all mankind, and considers it a kind of satire upon the departed persons. As if nothing else mattered except these two, birth and death of a person's life. Edison's gentle satiric tone is obvious when he talks about the war heroes of the past who are celebrated and are given grandiloquent names for no other reason but that they may be killed, and are celebrated for nothing but being knocked on the head. Upon his going into the church, Edison is diverted by the digging of a grave and notices in every shovelful the fragment of a bone or skull intermixed with a kind of fresh mouldering earth. This experience makes him muse about the innumerable people who lie buried under the pavement of that ancient cathedral. The innumerable multitudes of people lay confused together under the pavement of that ancient cathedral. And he writes how men and women, friends and enemies, priests and soldiers, monks and prebendaries were crumbled amongst one another and blended together in the same common mass. How beauty, strength, and youth, with old age, weakness, and deformity, lay undistinguished in the same promiscuous heap of matter. Edison considers how all distinctions are leveled up in the graveyard after death, how all distinctions become meaningless, irrelevant, as after some time of a person's death, all are blended together in the same common mass. It is a great life lesson for all humanity, an indirect message also, that the distinctions, that the differences that we cherish, that we nourish in life, vanish in death. And everybody has the same end. Nobody can escape it. A subtle message also that the world would be a better place for everyone if we could forget our differences and live in harmony. Edison, after surveying the tombs, examines the inscriptions closely and finds many extravagant epitaphs. He finds some to be excessively modest, some written in Greek and Hebrew, that is, incomprehensible by most, some tombs with no monuments, and some erected in memory of people whose bodies lie buried elsewhere. Edison is, however, delighted with several modern epitaphs which are written with refinement, that is, with great elegance of expression and justness of thought, and which do honor both the living and the dead. He further states that as a foreigner is very apt to conceive an idea of the ignorance or politeness of a nation from the turn of their public monuments and inscriptions, the public monuments and inscriptions should be submitted to the examination of learned men, knowledgeable men, before they are put in execution. Epitaphs, what he's saying is, should be true to the dead. They should represent the character of the persons concerned faithfully. Sir Cloudesley Shovel's monument gives him great offense, as Sir Shovel is represented as a beau, a fashionable young man, instead of the brave, rough English admirable that he was. Edison appreciates the Dutch, who, according to him, show an infinitely greater taste of antiquity and politeness in their public monuments. His visit to Westminister Abbey gives him valuable lessons as he realizes that death levels all differences and distinctions, and that nobody can escape the truth that life comes to an end, whether one is great, rich, beautiful, powerful, famous, or learned. And as he says at the end of the essay, when I look upon the tombs of the great, every emotion of envy dies in me. When I read the epitaphs of the beautiful, every inordinate desire goes out. When I meet with the grief of parents upon a tombstone, my heart melts with compassion. When I see the tomb of the parents themselves, I consider the vanity of grieving for those whom we must quickly follow. When I see kings lying by those who deposed them, when I consider rival wits placed side by side, or the holy men that divided the world with their contests and disputes, I reflect with sorrow and astonishment on the little competitions, factions, and debates of mankind. When I read the several dates of the tombs of some that died yesterday and some 600 years ago, I consider that great day when we shall all of us be contemporaries and make our appearance together. It's a very deep message that Edison gives us in his essay on Meditations in Westminster Abbey. Read the essay carefully, listen to the reading of the essay, and then to this analysis. Thank you.